What up? What up? What up? It's Pope the Blueprint, the host of the number one networking show. And I like to take the first couple of seconds of each show to highlight any local brands that I may be wearing. And tonight I am wearing XI11, which is a local 17-year-old here in Baltimore. So I encourage everybody to support your local brands. Now we have a special guest in the virtual building tonight. How you feeling tonight, good brother?
I'm doing good, Brandon. How are you, brother?
Man, I'm awesome, man. No complaints. And so before we get into the journey, the story, the inspiration, if you can just introduce yourself, let everybody know where you're from, and just a brief overview of all you're involved in, and we're going to take it back to day one.
Well, Brandon, first and foremost, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be able to share my journey.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I was thinking about how truly to answer this. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
kind of do a little bit of connecting the dots. I started off here in Jacksonville, Florida, 1979, and actually moved back roughly on my. It was right before I turned 40.
Mm.
I left in '79 and came back, and it's been truly an interesting journey. But I have a West Coast flavor to me. I was raised in San
Mm.
Diego. My dad was in the Navy, so I spent most of my youth in San Diego. Big Chargers fan, but I began my adulthood pretty much in Minnesota.
Okay.
I transferred schools. I had went to two colleges, one junior college in San Diego. I'm a Clark Atlanta University alum in '99, so I know a few familiar faces also there, celebrities wise. Also, I got a bachelor's degree from St. Cloud State University in mass communications with an emphasis in radio broadcasting. I did that field pretty much for about 4 years. I did production, I did on-air work, I did promotions, a little bit of everything. I tried to get into a different market. I worked in Minneapolis. Tried that. Tried to go to Phoenix. No
Mm-hmm.
luck. Pretty much. I tried every station from country to
Mm.
Spanish, and no, I couldn't get my foot in the door. And
Yeah.
actually, that's where I pretty much had a shift in life in terms of I guess you can say the dramatic changes. Like I said, I received my bachelor's degree in 2003. I moved to Phoenix
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, and started hanging out with my older brother. He's 10 years older than me, and his crew of
Okay.
friends. And so that's when I started getting introduced to like the malt liquor. I was
Mm.
already, kind of dibble dabbling a little bit of smoking, but it was, I kind of sunk into a depression because I had the high hopes and ambitions to working because I also have an education background. And so
Mm.
I thought I could do both radio and broadcasting as well in Phoenix, but it didn't work. I started working odd jobs, started dealing with bad women, and that's
Mm.
when I started getting into trouble. And I had a little brief stint, one night in jail in Phoenix, and that's when life really changed. And
Mm.
the army came, and I served in the army for 6 years. Was stationed in Fort Bragg, Fort Bliss. I was a cook, a 92 get down.
Mm-hmm.
Did that for 6 years, and I stumbled upon a couple of relationships during that process. Ended up getting married. That turned out bad.
Mm.
Almost got sick with well, not almost. I got sick with pancreatitis because I developed alcoholism and was in the hospital for 9 days. Almost lost my life
Mm.
and transitioned. I was homeless. I was homeless for a little while, for about 45 days in Phoenix on the same street I lived off of. I don't know how familiar
Mm.
you are or your guests or your followers are with Phoenix, but I lived off of 35th Avenue, which is near downtown. And the homeless shelter I stayed in, which is the Phoenix Rescue Mission. Big shouts out to them. I was there for 45 days. And I drove by there every day going to the VA hospital for my appointments. Didn't know what it was. And I found out the hard way. And after that, they kicked me out of the treatment, the homeless shelter. And I called my mom. I was in a hotel drinking. And I asked my mom, I said, hey, can I come back to Minnesota? She was like, but you got to get help. I got help at the St. Cloud VA. Big shouts out to them. They took care of me. And while I was in treatment, I actually applied for grad school back at the same university. I got my bachelor's degree in. 2 days later, I got accepted. And that's when everything kind of started after that. I went ahead, I had applied for an apartment. I got denied at first because of some stuff that hung over from my marriage. I paid that off, got blessed with my apartment, got the keys the same day I was released from treatment, December 15th, 2016. And that's when the good journey started. I started grad school about 3 weeks later. I traveled to South Africa, studied at Nelson Mandela University. The greatest experience ever. And but I'll stop at that because I know that there's questions between that. I'm sorry. You know, it's kind of once I get started on that journey, it's kind of hard to stop. You know.
You know what?
I'll
but it was
back to you.
No, man, it was a great introduction, right? Because as you were telling the story, I was kind of seeing themes, and it was like a roller coaster, the ups and the downs, and then you took us back up to the highlights. But now let's take it back to the moment when you said you were hanging around your big brother, right? Far as those beginning influence, because I always believe that, you know, who you hang around with impacts or, you know, how things turn out, right? And so in those beginning days, what was the switch? Because had you had a drink before hanging out with your big brother after school, or what was that like?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the very first time I got drunk, I was 12 years old. My dad is I don't know if he still drinks. He doesn't really tell me that much, but he always kept you know, alcohol around the house. So of course, you know, I would kind of sample it or whatever. I drank a lot throughout high school. I was an athlete, but you know, you know how it is on Friday nights, some kind of house party, stuff like that. You know, you're a star athlete, of course, you get all the treatment, whatever. But in terms of like the heavy drinking, it kind of sparked when I was in Phoenix because for one, it was a change of environment, and I was used to working because I was, like I said, I was working at the radio station, I was teaching in Minneapolis, and I was doing promotions for a couple companies out there as well. So my mom never saw me. I lived with my mom, and I was never home. Like I literally, like at one point, like I was working clubs. Like I didn't have a day off except for like a Monday for a couple years. That would be my only day off because I was constantly working. So the drinking part, it was kind of like I couldn't understand. I'm like, okay, well, at one point, here it is. I'm constantly working, you know, constant flow of money. And then I go to Phoenix. I'm just like, all right, there's no cash flow. I'm applying to jobs. I worked in the men's department at Dillard's, and then I ended up getting another job, but working in management for a rental car company. But still, you know, I have this degree in radio, but I'm not doing it. So it was kind of hard. But I knew I had to make a living, but I wanted to be in my field. And so, it was a heavy influence because, you know, my brother would work, and come Fridays, you know, they would always, you know, one of his friends, you know, he had his own little barbershop in the garage. So everybody would get together on Friday. So I was the one that was drinking that lightweight beer, and everybody else was drinking the 211, St. Ives, and all that stuff. And they're like, well, why are you drinking, you know, the Bud Lights and you drinking the girl stuff? And I'm like, okay, well, to fit in, I got to start you know, drinking the heavier stuff. But, you know, and I wasn't used to the effects of drinking malt liquor over just drinking like a lighter beer.
So it came down to, like you said, when you made that transition, was it more about fulfilling that purpose You know what I mean? Trying to fill that void for the purpose, because you said you were trying to break out in your field and that wasn't working. So was the drinking accommodating the void of the purpose?
Yeah, because it, like I said, I didn't know, like when I, like I said, when I graduated in 2003, like I hit the road running. Like I was already interning at the radio station, and like I said, I was doing that, and from, like I said, from May of '03 until September of 2005, it was just constant work. And then I went to Phoenix, and it was like from September until January, no work. But then it was like, okay, I'm applying for jobs, I'm considering the military. And then, like I said, my brother, he would always come pick me up, and I go hang out with him after he gets off work. And we're drinking all, whenever he got off work until he took me home. And so it was like, it was kind of like I'm missing Minnesota, and I'm not really making friends. Only friends I have is my brother's friends. They're 10, 11, 12 years older than me. And it kind of was like I'm missing my 20s or my mid 20s, and now I'm hanging out with 35+ year olds that's complaining about their wives doing you know
yeah,
how
different world at that point. Different world at that point.
Yes,
and
sir.
then, so how did the military fit in? Because was that something that you sought, or they sought you?
It was in 2008. Like I said, I had a run-in with the Phoenix police.
Okay.
And I basically, me and the person I was engaged to, we were living together, and obviously I couldn't go back home. So I stayed with my brother a couple of days, and then my mom was like, "Yeah, you got to go back to Minnesota." So I initially was going to join the Navy, and it was me and my nephew kind of was going through the transition together. So he ended up, I was going to join the Navy, he was going to do the Army, but then we flipped. I did the Army, he did the Navy, but I couldn't get in. I couldn't get in at first because of my vision for the Navy. They rejected me because of that. I was still drinking. My blood pressure was like outrageous.
Wow.
So I had to get that down. So it took me from September of 2008 until I actually got in. It took me almost 10 months before I got in the military. And during that time, I went, that was my first stint in rehab. And a famous legend from the 80s was in treatment with me as well. Kind of interesting. Minneapolis legend out there. But yeah, the military, I always, like, the military was always a thing in the back pocket. It was like, if I ever hit rock bottom, the military would be there. And initially, when I graduated in '03, like, I was thinking about becoming an officer in the Navy. But I was like, I knew what my dad put us through as far as moving around and all the other stuff, and I just didn't want to do it. And then look what happened. I ended up joining the Army. And like I said, it was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because the drinking stemming from '08, it carried over. And like I said, and I forgot to mention that when like I said, I was engaged twice before I got married. My first engagement, I dealt with an abortion, and that's what it eventually led to me spending the night in jail, because I harbored those emotions inside, and led to the bottom, and then of course explode and stuff like that. But that's what pretty much led me to the military. And like I said, I was in there and dealt with, like I said, I went in at 30, basically. So my mindset was like, all right, let's just work. But then I started hanging out with the younger cats. They wanted to drink. So it enhanced it. And like I said, I developed a depression early in the military, because I was away from family, and was like, I felt like I didn't deserve to be in the Army, but I knew that it was like, all right, I can be on the streets, or go ahead and do this. And it benefited a lot. Like I said, I did my 6 years. I got a medical discharge. I'm working on, like, right now I'm 100% disabled through the VA. So they take care of me. They covered my master's degree. They paid for my trip to South Africa, put money in my pocket.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it definitely was a whole lot of blessings. I'll tell you that much. I had to go through the struggle, and but it definitely paid off.
Yeah. Now, what I want people to take away, right? Because we're getting ready to get into the transition, right? Of the highlights when you said enough is enough, right? Yeah. Because I'm sure it's people that's going to listen that are going back and forth, back and forth. They may stop for a moment, but then they may have triggers that bring them back to square one. So what was that shift for you that kind of put you over the hump where you said, this is it, and I'm moving forward for good? Can you remember that moment when it happened, or what was something that made that shift?
It's gonna shake you up right here. I was staying in my mom's house in Minnesota. This was I could tell you roughly when it was. It was November of might have been like November the 10th of 2016. My mom, I was outside having smoke break, and my mom came out there, and she was like, well, of course my family called me Junior. So she was like, Junior, what can I do to help you? And the look on her face when she said it, like, despite the fact that I was drunk when she said it, like the alcohol was no longer in my body. And it was kind of like a spiritual type of like outer body thing. It was like, okay, I need to wake up. And when she said that she didn't want to bury any of her kids, especially me, and I'm the youngest of five, and I was like, all right, I gotta do it. And then so it took a while. I'm not gonna lie to you. A couple more, like I would say, this was about maybe 5 or 6 days before I actually went to treatment. And I went in. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was right around. I went in November 15th of 2016, and it was the best experience. It was emotional because like I said, I was still married, but it was what I needed, and it helped me prepare my book. Talking to the other veterans, and kind of explaining, like, especially when I got the acceptance to grad school, they're like, man, you got a perfect story to tell. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll do it. But I didn't realize it until I got to the college, interacting with the younger students, and because they didn't have that. And I know I'm off subject. They didn't have that. They didn't, like, when I was doing my undergrad, the school I went to was predominantly white. And at that time, it might have been no more than maybe 100, 150 Blacks and African international students. Now, when I came back, it was a total different wave. It was like the African students is interacting with the Black students. People are dating, like, everything was separate. So I was like, I gotta give back. And so I just started to talk to the students, and they're like, man, you're in school at 38. Wow, because I still dress down, I rock Jordan and stuff. Like, they're like, are you really 38? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I got the grays in the beard. They're like, nah, and I'm like, trust me. I'm like, I got history at this college. And so that kind of motivated me more to do it. But between that and my mom is my rock. And I just felt like I had to continue the education. And I knew that my purpose wasn't, that I couldn't just lay down at that point. And I trusted her. She was like, whatever you need, we got you. But you gotta stay sober. So to be honest with you, as of today is 4 years and almost 3 months. It'll be 4 years, 3 months, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm still sober. Got a book, 12 Faces of Sober. It talks about the 12 years, as I just mentioned, when it started, and the 12 faces, and it chronicles the relationships. I mentioned a couple of them, and then talks about my engagements, it talks about my marriage, talks about my current relationship. It talks about my sponsor, who is I think now she'll be 84 in September. From I gotta say it right. She's from Luxembourg. If I don't say it right, she's gonna get upset. Big shouts out to Marie. She's in communication with my mom on a regular basis. They live a couple miles from each other. And those two people right there, and my sister as well. Like it was the best feeling going back to Minnesota. And like I said, my life has changed. I also DJ on the side. I DJ'd Juneteenth 2 times up in St. Cloud. The same thing I did in my undergrad back in 2000. So to be able to do it, it was 2017, 2018. I also was a host of Kwanzaa up in St. Cloud. So, and I was a part of a leadership group up there. So all these opportunities that have opened up since I've gotten sober. And I know for sure that none of these opportunities would have been on the table if I was still drinking. To this day.
No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Now, those beginning days when you were breaking through, what was that like, man? Because I'm sure the withdrawals were real. You know, I mean, how did you stay focused, right? Because I've experienced moments where I've had long stints of drinking. I mean, I've had it to where, you know, I was drinking a fifth a day. And so I know, like, once you hit those withdrawals and just, you know, sometimes your mind, I mean, you're just going through it. So in those beginning stages for you, how did you gather the strength, man, to keep going? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
I was 100% scared. And the reason why is because I did 4 treatments. And this time it was like, you know, I'll be honest, the first couple of days, because I went into treatment drunk. And they at first they wasn't gonna let me in. So I was on like the 72 hours, I think they call it CWAS or something like that. And, you know, for the DTs and everything. And I mean, I felt fine. They're like, oh, your blood pressure is like, you know, astronomical. And I'm just like, man, I feel normal. Like, no, are you sure you're not, you know, having, you know, because you can have, you know, seizures and stuff like that when you're coming off of alcohol. And but when I got out of treatment, and this is the honest to goodness truth, like I said, I got my keys. My family, we drove back where my family was about an hour and 15 minutes away, northwest of where my mom lives. And so I was with them. And like I said, talk about blessings. You know, my ex-wife didn't get anything. I took the furniture, everything. So I had it in storage. So it was being delivered. So they called me. I had to go back to my apartment. Now, mind you, this is literally the first weekend out of treatment. I went to the grocery store. I grabbed some food. Of course, it was cold, wintertime. And I didn't do anything. I was like, no one's watching me. Because I knew before I could have drank and it wouldn't have mattered. But this time I was like, let's just trust the process. And so each day it was like, all right, let's try not to drink. Let's try not to think about it. You know, of course I had the cravings. Of course I had the night sweats. Of course you know, the sleepless nights, you know, the dreams of wanting to have a drink. But it was almost like it put a close to the chapter of my marriage, because it was like, all right, I'm away from her. I don't have to necessarily focus on her. I can focus on myself and focus on my health. And so my health became a top priority. And then I found out I had diabetes. So, and my dad almost died from the same thing, alcohol and too much sweets. And I didn't want to go through it. So it was like, it was a big shift. And even with that, and the good thing too is that the weight loss, like I was up to about 240. Now I'm down to 190. This is within a span of like 2 or 3 years. And I keep the weight off now because, you know, my lady's on the health kick and I can't eat all that bad stuff anymore. I'll be honest, it was hard. It was hard because, and I'll be real, and a lot of people don't know this, and I like the question that you asked. I actually went to the bar, but I didn't go inside. I went to an old bar that I used to party at, back in the day. And when I looked out the window and I saw that because my nephew, he's in college, and I was like, these kids are like my nephew's age. I said, I can't do it. And I turned around and went home. And then I'm not gonna lie, I've been out celebrating people's birthdays or being a designated driver, but I just knew this time it was the right thing for me, and I haven't looked back. And I just, like I said, each day life has gotten better, and I've met more people like yourself, and the opportunity to be able to share in this capacity. Like I would have never thought to be able to talk about being sober compared to like, I remember that one time I got drunk and and I got scars and you fell, and now I can just laugh at that, and now I can talk about, well, I did this, I've been able to travel, because I ain't mentioned that I've been everywhere throughout the US and stuff. So but yeah, I love sports. I try to go to different NFL stadiums and watch the games and stuff, Charger games, of course.
You know what? That's awesome, right? Because that's like the ultimate story of taking lemons and making lemonade, right? Because it's taking that tragedy and turning it into a triumph, right? And so as you were getting your stride, what was that moment when you were really getting your stride? Not that you were getting overly confident, like I got this, but when did you really feel inspiration? Like, man, I'm proud of myself. I'm doing good. How long did it take before you got to that moment?
The first month, like like celebrating the first month sober, because that was like the longest period that I had been sober in a while. And except for, well, before that, the longest period was probably when I went to treatment in 2014, just a whole month of no alcohol. And so to get out of treatment, that was 30 days, but to complete, like I would say, the second month, because now I'm on my own. And to be honest with you, I had to trust myself, because like I said, I was away from my family, and I didn't, truly have the support system. I mean, I still, some of my homeboys, dads, they're still administrators at the university. So that helped, but I still was alone. So it was like, all right, I just kept trusting myself and telling myself, like, you don't want to go back. You know what it looks like to live in a homeless shelter. You know what it feels like not to have certain things. Do you want to go back to that? So I guess to me it was like, all right, you don't know what's in front of you, but it's definitely looking better than what's behind you. So keep going. And that's what I did. And it was like, okay, well, heck, I'm going to Brooklyn and getting stuck in a snowstorm, but I was cool with it, and getting that, get a chance to go to Jersey, go to San Diego like 3 different times, and like to feel good going home, despite the fact that I was like, I would just walk through my neighborhood and see a family friend and stay at their place and not do anything else. But for years, I was embarrassed to travel, because I knew, like, I didn't want people to see me drunk. So I would stay where I was at, and that was it.
But now doing that stride, right? You're getting confident, you're talking to people, coming out your shell sober. So when did that inspiration for the book? I know you said people were giving you ideas, but give us a time span of when you started working on a book, or when that inspiration for the book happened.
I used to, when I the first semester, I worked for the Multicultural Student Services, and they kind of were like, well, Kenny, you don't really have to do anything. Just sitting there, talk to the students, get to know them, and just share your story. And so some of the the kids are like, oh, do you want to hang out, have a drink? I'm like, nah, I don't drink. They're like, what? You're like, you don't drink? I'm like, yeah. And I befriended one guy, because I was in the process of was looking at crossing in one of the fraternities. At the only black fraternity they had at the school. And so I befriended this guy, And I was telling him about it. And he was like, man, you need to tell the story. And I was like, all right. But I put it off because grad school is there. And that wasn't my first stint, because I went, when I was in the Army in 2014, I studied at the University of Texas, El Paso. You know, while in the Army, full-time active. And I was planning on getting out, staying in El Paso, finishing that degree, but my marriage at the time delayed that. But so I honestly started, I talked about it when I met my lady. I was telling him, like, yeah, you know, because she's an author as well. And she had told me, she was like, yeah, you know, you should, you know, go ahead and do it, and I can help you. And I was like, all right, well, I need to think about it. I was like, let me finish.
Now, what was it to think about? Was it the time factor, or if you wanted to be that vulnerable to tell your story?
The timing, because at that time it was like my last, because I walked May of 2018, but I only had one class left. Like I could have finished my master's program in 3 semesters. My advisor made sure that I did 4 semesters. And so once I got finished, and I had decided to, because I ain't gonna lie, like my lady, she's a vegan, and I actually met her in a vegan group on Facebook. And shouts out to big black, I think it's Black Vegan Social Group, I think it is. Big shouts out to them, because it made a love connection. But yeah, so we were talking about it, and I had decided to make the move to Jacksonville. So this was January of 2019. And so I came out here to visit. She treated me like a king. And I said, okay, well, a lot of people like to relocate to Florida to get their mind right. So I said, why not? And so right before I left, I started, like right before I packed up to come to Jacksonville, I started working on it. And I think I may have did like 1 chapter. And I was just like, man, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're going to be telling everything. You're going to put your business out there. And I said, you know what?
Yeah.
It's going to help somebody. Somebody's going to be able to relate to at least 1 chapter, if not more. And then my lady, I mean, she's well now, but she was involved in a car accident. So I was taking her to her doctor's appointment, and I would just sit in the car, and then I would just work on it there. I would just break out my phone and just type it up, you know, like I was texting, and then just kind of doing like that, save it, email it to myself, put it in Word, and kind of go like that. And then I completed it. I finished my, I submitted my first manuscript. I got it on, I think it was Christmas Day of 2018. Yeah, I was at home.
Okay.
I was in Minnesota, got the manuscript, and then last year, got with an editor. I'm in another, I think it's Best. Shouts out to Best Bestsellers Guild group, and they were like, yeah, you know, if you need an editor, let me know. I'm like, here, I need one. And big shouts out to Patricia Ogilvie. She's out in Canada. She did it. And also my sister was the eyes as well. So it took roughly from the time I got the manuscript done to the time of completion. The first copy was done on my birthday, August 2nd of last year.
Wow.
And then Amazon made a mistake. The book was like the size of like a kid's coloring book. So I had to pull that one. So it was off for like 2 days, get the right measurements, and it's been selling ever since.
Now, when you got that final copy, when you got that physical book in your hand, everything was done. What was it like, man? What was the emotions? I mean, what was going through your mind at that point? Because I'm sure you invested so much in getting it there. What was it like when you finally had that copy in your hand, man?
I was scared to open it. I was put like this. It was surreal because like the picture, I don't know if you can see it, but
I can see it now.
Me and my lady, Usually on New Year's, we've been going to like Jacksonville Beach. So she actually captured that picture. And I didn't even like, it was between that and a couple other pictures, but I was just like, it gave me a reminder of like another picture that I took looking at the Atlantic on the other side in South Africa. So that may eventually be another cover. But it was, I think it was the nerves. Like I was like, I really have a book. Like this is really like, it's really me. Like Kenneth L. Watson Jr. is on a book. And can't nobody say nothing. You know what I mean? Like can't like even when I started the book, I said, hey, this is a disclaimer. You know, the names have been changed a little bit, but you know, the story is the same. And but yeah, it was a great feeling. And I think like the better feeling is like my mom kept saying, she's like, oh, you know, you can send it to me whenever. I said, nah, mom, you gonna get this book. And so for her to get it, that was probably like the better feeling. But just like to have the physical copy, it definitely was a surprise. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, you really did it. The blood, sweat, and tears. And like I said, a lot of people don't know that I had to eliminate like the chapter that I had on my ex-wife could have been like 2 or 3, and I made it into 1. So and even the chapter on my ex-wife, that could be a book within itself. And it might, you know what I'm saying? Because it was crazy. It was a crazy 6 years.
Yeah. And man, that's super dope, right? And so when your mom got the book, because she was part of that inspiration to help snap you out of it. What was her reaction to it when she read the book? What was that like?
My mom is like a person that doesn't show too much emotions, but when it came to the chapter of my ex-wife, she said, I will not read that chapter because she said that she didn't want to relive the pain that I was going through. And that was the only chapter. But she really liked it. She was surprised that like I said, once I got sober, my memory kind of like it came back. And so she was like, wow, you remember this? You remember that? I said, yeah, despite the fact I might have been extremely drunk off my behind, I do. So so and I asked her like, you know, mom, are you proud of me? I'm like, you ain't said nothing. She's like, yeah, I'm really proud of you. I'm like, well, dang, can you at least tell me? Like I worked hard for this, you know. And like I said, the same thing with my sponsor. My sponsor was like, she's like, oh, you made a mistake. I'm like, I said, I tried my best. I said, I knew you was in your 80s, but she was like, yeah, you know, she's like, I really like it. She was like, but the only part, she's like, yeah, you had a lot of women. And I'm like, nah, I was trying to explain like the alcohol, you know, women was my downfall. The alcohol was the crutch. And you know what I mean? And the relationship just kept coming and they just kept failing. And it was like, all right. But yeah.
That's dope, man. And so once the book came out, what's the reaction been like amongst the people that have received it? Because what I loved about going to your Instagram page is seeing the people holding the book up. You know what I mean? And so what has the response been since you released the book?
Honestly, people have said they more or less they like it, and they're like, it sounds just like you. It sounds like you know, you're telling it. There's nobody else can tell the story. And they're like, wow, some people are like, I didn't know you went through this. These are like close friends. Because I mean, it's across the spectrum. I got the longest person I've known from first grade to somebody that I just met recently has a copy of the book. And everybody is like, it can definitely help somebody. It gives you the perspective of a man because I'm going in depth. I'm being emotional. I'm being expressive. As a Black man, we don't really do. And if we do it behind closed doors. You know, for me to be honest, like I'm letting you come into my world. You know what I'm saying? And like you said on my social media, I talk a lot. I try to share my life. But, you know, obviously with social media, you don't necessarily come out and be like, oh, you know, I got this and that. But now I'm free to say it. Now I can tell the story because I know that it's going to help somebody. I know that somebody's been in a situation, because I've gotten numerous, and I stand on that. I've gotten numerous calls from brothers like, man, this and that happened to me. What should I do? I just had a call recently on a brother was like, man, my lady, she left me. What should I do? I'm like, man, well, you got to cut out this drinking, and maybe maybe she'll stay, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? So now he's back in the gym. I keep telling him to hit me up, but he'll hit a like. So I know that he's okay. Now, if he's calling me in tears again, then I know he's back, bad. I mean, I've had people that's done outpatient treatment because of the fact of me being open with this. Like I said, I got veterans that reach out that's struggling. I got regular college folks that was in my situation. And that's why it's like I'm connecting it to a lot of different people. It's not just veterans. It's those who face reality, dealing with, a miscarriage or an abortion or domestic violence. I mean, I'm a victim of domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? A lot of men ain't gonna openly admit that. You know what I mean? But I'm okay, because like I said, I made it through. I didn't get locked up. I didn't go to jail. Somebody else did, and somebody else can't hold a job. You know what I'm saying? Because and it was on government property. So, you know what I'm saying, on the military base. So, like I said, but I put it like this. I guarantee, like, and I say it because a lot of people have a tendency of harboring their emotions and are afraid to express it. And I know that it's been a trend lately, the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, of mental health, in the Black community, and it being addressed, because I went through things as a child and I couldn't understand it. And now as I'm 41, I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. Before I didn't. And so now it's the same way. It's like I'm telling the story to everybody. I'm letting people know, like, hey, okay, you can fall, you can make those mistakes, but you got to be able to pick yourself up. So that's why I think a lot of people have been very responsive to it, and have given good responses. And the good thing about it too is that, like, a lot of people be sending me holding a book. I'm like, okay, hold the book. I want you to read it. Let me know what you think about it. Leave a review on Amazon, and stuff like that. Like I said, it's opening the doors too. Like I'm about to, I got 12 Faces of Sober merchandise coming out too. And like I said, big shouts out the guy who created the logo. I mean the cover. I'm using the for the title. It's on T-shirts. I got the whole entire title of the cover of the book on a shirt, but now I'm just leaning more the title, because it stands out a little bit more than just the whole entire book cover itself. So I mean, it's a lot of opportunities, and I know that there are more, that's coming up. So you know what I mean. So I'm looking forward to it.
Especially like once America opens back up, right? You know what I mean? Like once everything opened back up, within a year or two, you might be on stage with E.T. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I'm actually my buddy that's working on the T-shirts, him and his wife, he's gonna actually do a documentary about 12 Faces of Sober, and it's gonna be obviously the sober years, and it's gonna actually have the alcohol years too, and it's gonna have my family and a couple of my close friends that's truly been there with me during the journey. I won't know about any of the interviews until it's being displayed. Hopefully, I told him I wanted it to be released on Veterans Day this year, so he's got a little bit of time. And like I said, hopefully I'll be able to shop it to the right person and get it in the right hands, because one thing that I've noticed that, not to throw a name out, but like Tyler Perry and some of the movies, a lot of the movies be geared towards the women. And it's like, how about we get one of those movies about the men, talking about, okay, we had that adversity. And he made that one movie, and that's my motivation. That's why I'm like, if Tyler Perry gets a hold of this, it's guaranteed. And you play into the military, and you play into the fact, like, I was homeless, and the fact that I was able to overcome it and still here, and still being able to motivate and mentor. Like, I already got opportunities. And like you said, you mentioned just now, once COVID's going back, I'm from National City. I don't say San Diego, I'm from National City. I'm going back there to the youth because, like I said, when I was growing up in that community, there wasn't no brothers that was on a positive kick. There wasn't no brothers that had education. That was like, you can make mistakes, but there's opportunities to get out of it, but you got to be able to separate yourself from that negativity in order to get that prize. If not, you're going to be stuck. And I was stuck for 12 years. And trust me, I don't want to be stuck no more. I'm going to tell you, because this life is amazing. People don't understand. And I try to say, I don't tell people, you don't want to drink no more. I'm just saying, hey, the sober life is better. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
It's different. At least for me, it is. I don't know about everybody else.
And health, I mean, it's so many things health-wise that I'm sure you've experienced. Like you said, your lady is vegan, just that whole transition. Now, what I also love too is that you're taking advantage of this moment. Like we talked about the COVID opening up, but you're putting out a lot of content, man. Like you're getting people engaged. How important is it to keep putting that content out?
People tell me to do more. Honestly, it's therapeutic because like I don't go off a script. I more or less right before I hit record, I think about it, and then I just start talking, or I base it off a conversation. Like I said, one of my best friends, I don't know if you saw the post I had just the other day. My best friend, he was in Florida, came from San Diego. We hung out last week. I needed that. That was my therapy, like, cause I keep to myself. So it was good to just sit there, talk to him, pick his brain. And, and he gives me ideas for content and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff that I use is from other people, but I just don't use their names, what I'm saying? And it hits at home because a lot of the issues that I address are stuff that people are facing day to day.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I love that you're doing, right? Because the thing about it, and what I notice about content creators is that sometimes people just overthink it too much, right? Like, am I posting too much? Am I doing too much? Like, you can never do too much when it comes to the creation of content because you never know who needs what. So once you're always creating, and once you get out of the mindset of the likes, the views, and just focus on the higher purpose, that's when that creativity flows. And it's just like, man, I'm unapologetically just putting these blessings out to people.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, and the thing about it is that, like even with like, and not to go like off track, but like, like I've addressed like politics. And the thing about it is that it's so intimidated, like, because my friends was like, okay, well, here it is. This guy was an athlete. He would be sleeping in class. But now this guy is like super duper smart and is giving y'all facts. And it's like, I can't help it. It's like, okay, I don't have anything to do. From the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I'm thinking about, okay, what can I do? How to market my book? How can I, tell a portion of the story without giving all the information?
And I seen one of those posts, right? And I was like, man, I love it, right? Because you said you were talking about, it was maybe a month or so ago, I was just scrolling through. You was like, I got an interview this day. I couldn't sleep. And so, I deal with it by getting creative ideas on marketing. So when you just said it, it triggered that thought. I'm like, you're always in go mode, man. And it's like that purpose is driving you.
Yeah. Because and the thing about it too, like my master's degree is in strategic media communications, which is like basically marketing. So like one of the last classes I had to do is like we had to promote Puma. Well, I had to promote Puma and all that and the history on it. So it was like, all right, well, let me go back into that mode of like, how did I promote this product and this and this and that? And like I mentioned earlier about shoes. So it was like, okay, promote fashion, this and this and that. So it's like I said, I have sleep apnea. So like sometimes I sleep, sometimes I don't. And so instead of me just sitting there, like you said, just scrolling through social media, looking at this, looking at that, well, how about I Google, okay, how can I, where can I get my book? Like The matter of fact, that day I was talking about it, I was Googling bookstores and how I can get my book in consignment stores. I got, matter of fact, I'm waiting for a response. I just submitted my book to be in a consignment store, and who owns it is Kevin Johnson, the former NBA player. His mom owns the bookstore out in Sacramento.
Wow.
So I'm trying to get it there with the book signing. So it's a lot of different things, and the good part about it is that I have like resources in these different cities to where it's like if I really and truly want to go and speak somewhere, all I gotta do is say it to the right person, I'll be able to do it.
And you're unapologetically because you're so passionate, right? Like, and that's what I love about hearing people's story is that it can change 1 to 1,000,000, 10,000,000, but you just got to get started, man.
Right.
You got to get started. How important, like for the people that's listening and may be hesitant to tell their story, they may even have a book out, but how important is it to really just get started and putting yourself out there?
Truly, whatever you are thinking, and like I said, you know, we keep our cell phones so close to where all you know, there's some type of app or whatever to where you can text it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever your thought, it's the same way like a rapper. Okay, you got a verse in your head. You don't want to forget it. All right, you don't want to write it down because you might throw it away, or your significant other might toss it. All right, if you know you got it saved in your phone, you can go back. They also got the voice recorder. So like I said, if you are more like, all right, well, you're more verbal, you can verbalize it the same way. Do it, you know. So that's kind of how it is. I'm just trying to look, I'm trying to keep up with the youngsters and the technology. I'm trying to see what works. And whatever don't work, I'm gonna try something else until I can, you know, perfect it. And that's it. This is all trial and error. But like I said, it's only me. I'm 41. I ain't got no kids. I got my lady. You know, no true responsibilities, but just me and her. That's it. So it's, you know, like I said, she pushes me and gives me a lot of tools. But then she has given me like, okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead and do you, but I'm gonna watch you from the sideline and see you shine. And that's what she's been doing. But like I said, she'll come in like, oh, she's already like, well, if you want to change, like I just posted, I'm dealing with this. I think it's a marketing company. They did like a media sheet for me. She said, well, if you want to change it, we can. I'm like, nah, let's just see what the response is from other people. And everybody's liked it so far. So like I said, it's just a matter of keeping busy, investing in yourself, especially if this is what what you want to do, and get it out there. Don't be afraid to tell your story. And I said this yesterday in the Zoom call. Only you can tell your story the best way. Nobody else can do it. So and because there, and I told my editor, she's also, how do you want this to sound? Do you want it to sound proper? I'm like, nah, because I speak with I speak my own language. So it's like if you know me, then you're gonna understand the terminology. So the people on the West Coast may be able to understand it because I might say hella, or you know what I'm saying, certain terms. You know what I mean, that you might not hear, or it may have a different definition, like you said in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that. But only thing I would say is just, if you got something, even if it's a small poetry, or, matter of fact, I noticed my lady, she got a journal. I'm like, you can start there. I mean, any way you can get it down, your thoughts on paper can eventually be a masterpiece. But you won't know until you put it on the paper.
Because if you're always having genius thoughts, you don't know they're genius because you're always having them, and they become so common to you. And like you said, until you share, and then people are like, damn, that was profound. And you was like, oh, I think about that type of stuff all the time. Man, that's awesome.
I this is what I want to do. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. And the thing about it is, I got my next story is gonna focus on just my Army career, not so much the relationship, but like it's gonna be from the day I shipped out and
Wow.
everything. And I told people, I said, your names might get mentioned, but
Yeah.
the thing about it is the relationships that we built after those tumultuous times is now,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, the friendships and the bonds. And like I said, the people that's been holding the books, those are people that I interacted with in the military that I still respect
Wow.
to this day. And there's more that's binding because now they're starting to see, like, wait a minute, yeah, that's Watson. Okay, yeah, now you know I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. So this is all,
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, let me tag everybody who's, you know, sending me those pictures because eventually somebody's gonna see it and somebody's gonna buy it. And then the good thing about it, like I said, this month is not over yet. I got a
Hmm.
decent sale, so I might need your plug on the 21st.
Yeah.
So
It's
please
all good. Got it.
tell
Yeah.
them to come to the website on the 21st, and they'll actually go to Amazon on the 21st, and they'll
Okay.
definitely get a gem on the 21st. That's all I can say.
Okay.
12 Phases of
Yeah.
Sober is is going to
Mm.
definitely show some love on the 21st. That's all I can say.
Man, I could talk to you all night, man. You know what? I definitely. This is just the beginning, right? This is not the end.
Yes, sir.
This is the beginning, right?
Because
Because
I'm gonna flip the script on you. I'm gonna schedule one for you. So don't worry. You gonna be on 12 Phases Sober Speaks podcast plug.
man, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You know what?
I just recorded my first one yesterday, and I got 4 more lined up this weekend. So
Yeah, you know that
it's coming.
I'm definitely down for it, man, because like even when I started this podcast, like I said, I was drinking a fifth a day, and then that whole journey. Like I'm working on some things as well about telling my story. I lost weight. Like if you look at my beginning podcast from one, I was just overweight. You can look at my face and now on the continent, and it was like I completed 100 shows in less than 5 months. But like you said, it was so therapeutic, and it just kept going and going and going and going, and it's a whole journey with it, man. So whatever you need, man, is you got it, man. It's all good, and we gonna plug the 21st.
I appreciate it, Brandon. Like I said, man, we definitely got to do this again, brother. Because like I said, the conversation has been great. The
Yeah,
questions have been amazing. Like I said, I'm an open book, and I mean
yeah,
that
yeah.
because
You definitely an open book, man. You know what I mean? And that's what blesses the people, man. You know what I mean? Just being authentic in your journey. You know what I mean? So that's all you can do. Now, before we go, let people know everywhere they can purchase the book, where they can follow you at. Let them know your social media handles. And then after you do that, we're going to end on a word of encouragement.
you can follow me. I have a 12 Faces of Sober page, and the 12 Faces of Sober page on Facebook will obviously link you to my Facebook page. And then let's see, YouTube 12 Faces of Sober, IG 12 Faces of Sober, LinkedIn 12 Faces of Sober. I have a Twitter account, but I haven't used it. I
Yeah.
need to, you know what I'm saying? That's another avenue, but I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
probably look at that next month. Let me see what else. You also you can if you want to book for future, any type of speaking engagements, you can reach me at 12 Faces of Sober. That's the number 12 Faces of Sober at gmail.com. And my website is 12 Faces of Sober. That's 12 2 Faces of Sober.com. It has the book on there for sale. Like I said, and it also has merchandise, the 12 Faces of Sober. I'm on Amazon. You could just pretty much type in 12 Faces of Sober. Depends on how it pulls up. Like I said, for me, when I do it, it's always a third book. So I don't know how it would be for other people. But once you type in 12 Faces Sober, it's not no other, obviously another copy of the title of that. But for
Yeah.
some reason, it puts you in the alcohol category or something like that.
Okay. And then that last word of encouragement for people that may be on the fence about anything you're inspired right now. Give us that last word of inspiration before we go.
Man, man, you gotta believe in yourself before anybody else will believe in you. And if you are leaning on something that's holding you back, it might be time to rethink it, because it could be holding you back from many, many blessings.
Man,
that's a good question.
That's awesome.
That's a good question.
No, but you know, but that's awesome, right? Because sometimes the most profound things is just very straightforward, right? And so some will, some won't. So what? So it's like when you say it, if it's for them, it's gonna hit them. You know what I mean? Because they know what they're thinking about internally, and so you know that was awesome, because it's just certain things you just have to let go. You know, and so I appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, this is only the beginning.
Thank you, brother. I thank you so much, man. Like I'm telling you, this pretty much made my day. It was kind of rough, but it closed the day the right way. I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I look forward for us linking up and doing much more project, man, because you definitely is a good brother, man. And like I said, I want to keep myself and surround myself with good people. And that's what I'm all about. I ain't got time for the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Iron sharpen iron, man. You know how we do, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, peace, love, and blessings, man. You take it easy.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.